Hello, and welcome to the Wine Educate podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Close, and this is episode 68. And today we're starting our series on the wine laws of Burgundy. So from doing a bit of digging into this, I've decided this is going to be a four-part series. It's Burgundy, right? There's a lot to talk about here. And although this is the wine laws series, I do have to scratch the surface of other things like history and geography in order to explain how these laws came about. So in today's episode, we are going to talk about the laws at the level 2 level, bit of a overview of the whole region. If you have not already signed up for the newsletter, please do so. I've got lots of juicy study tips for you all at whatever level you're at. If you're just getting started, I've got level 1 tips, level 2 tips, and for my level 3 students as well. And we're also going to be noodling some of these essay questions. So go to wineeducate.com, and at the top you see a green button that says newsletter sign up. All right, a Burgundy overview. So we just talked about Bordeaux, and I want to put it in perspective, the size difference between these two. Bordeaux is quite a bit larger than Burgundy. So about 110,000 hectares planted in Bordeaux and around 30,000 hectares in Burgundy. Bordeaux is France's largest AOC wine region, and it's producing roughly 4 to 5 times more wine than Burgundy. So Burgundy is smaller. And we look at how it is laid out, the geography and the climate. Burgundy starts at the top with Chablis. Chablis is cooler than the rest of Burgundy. So if you're in Chablis and you get in your car and then you're going to drive down to where the Côte d'Or starts, that's about 80 miles. So it's a good little stretch there in between where Chablis is and where the Côte d'Or starts. And indeed, the climate of the Côte d'Or is a little warmer. It's moderate, not cool. So a little difference there. The Côte d'Or is long and skinny. So it's about 30 miles from the top to the bottom, but it's only a few miles wide, which is kind of interesting. It's very long and skinny with an patchwork array of nuanced different soil types. And I'm just going to stop right there with that because I could go on and on. But the main point I want you to get from that is that there is tons of nuance and variety here just in this tiny strip of land in the Côte d'Or. And then right below the Côte d'Or, the Mâconnais starts. And the Mâconnais is going to be a wider area, more kind of gentle hills. The slide I use in class, it looks like hobbits might live there, like they might have those little round doors and live in those rolly hills, to give you a mental note of what the Mâconnais looks like. All right, and I want to touch upon this at the beginning. So this is one of the elephants in the room, one of many roaming elephants in the room when it comes to Burgundy, and that is, how do you say it? Because Burgundy is the American sort of British way of saying the name. In France, it's Bourgogne, right? They say Bourgogne. Many other regions in France, we don't anglicize the word, but we do that for Burgundy. Now, you're going to see both of these on labels. Sometimes you'll see Burgundy and sometimes you'll see Bourgogne. And I think the folks in France are wishing that we would say Bourgogne more often. So I will endeavor to say it more often, but it's a tough habit to break at this point. So if I slip into saying Burgundy again, do forgive me, but I'm going to try for Bourgogne. All right. The classification system here. Now, unlike the land of Château in Bordeaux, we are firmly in appellation system here. The AOCs, but it's broken up into quite a neat little pyramid for us. It's not like Chablis went off and made their own rules and the Mâconnais went off and decided, we're going to form a classification of our own. No, the whole of Burgundy falls under this classification system, this appellation system, I should say, and it makes a neat little pyramid. So visualize your pyramid, and we're starting at the bottom, the broader entry-level category, which is the regional appellations. And like it sounds, these regions are larger. So think of like Chablis AOC and Bourgogne AOC, and the wines can be made anywhere within that region. And we have 7 of those total. I'm giving you the numbers. You don't have to know these for level 2. I'm just doing it to help you understand the overall picture a little better. Okay, moving up to the next tier, those are the village appellations, and you will sometimes see the word commune put on there as well. They kind of use that term a little bit interchangeably. So these are grapes that were made in a specific village. These are going to be higher quality and a little more distinct in style. So an example of that would be Meursault AOC or Gevrey-Chambertin. So we're getting more specific. And there are 44 of these village appellations. And just a little side note, because I know some of you are thinking, when is Joanne going to talk about slope? Okay, I will address slope and the importance of slope, but I'm going to do that when I talk more specifically about the Côte d'Or. Okay, so it is coming up. Fear not. Then we move into Premier Cru. These are terms that echo some things we've already talked about. We have Premier Cru, then we have Grand Cru. So for Premier Cru, these are from specific vineyard sites within a village, labeled with the village plus the vineyard name. Wines made from just one Premier Cru are allowed to use the name of that cru on the label. And don't freak out when I say this number. There are 640 Premier Crus. Oh my God, I know. Don't worry. Look, I don't know who knows all those, right? I certainly don't. And maybe there's a few people out there, like the ones that can recite pi to like a gajillion numbers. That's certainly not me. Do not freak out. That's why we have books with all these things listed in it, so we don't have to learn all 640 Premier Crus. Wow. Now, Grand Cru, of course, this is the highest classification from the very, very, very best sites. And this represents the tippy top of the pyramid and only about 1.5% of Burgundy's total land area. So quite rare. And there's only 33 Grand Cru sites. Burgundy's not cheap. There's a lot less of it. It's super culty. People want to get their hands on these Premier Crus and Grand Crus. I get it. Sadly, I'm priced out of this category for the most part. I don't quite have that rich uncle with the deep cellar. Again, if you do, call me. I'll come over. We can drink some wine together. But I will be talking about some of these regions within Burgundy that you can still find some good values, but the Premier Cru and Grand Crus, they're going to be pricey. Now let's talk about some of the key appellations for level 2. Just a sidebar note here. Burgundy at first seems so deceptively simple, right? You're like, okay, if it's a white wine, it's going to be Chardonnay. If it's a red wine, it's going to be Pinot Noir. Well, friend, I'm sorry, that's where the simplicity stops. Let's talk about some of these major appellations. Starting at the tippy top, we have Chablis, right? And in Chablis, we're only making white wines. We're only doing Chardonnay. And in Chablis, you have some Premier Crus and one Grand Cru. It's all laid out along one hill. And you have the Burgundy AOC, which is the regional appellation, and those can be white or red, Pinot or Chard, anywhere from across Burgundy. So the Côte d'Or, which I mentioned before, is split into 2 sections. You have the Côte de Nuits at the top and the Côte de Beaune at the bottom part. As a rough rule, there's more red wine grown in the Côte de Nuits and more white wine grown in the Côte de Beaune, but of course, there's white and red in both parts. So the important appellations they want you to know in the Côte d'Or for the level 2 level are Meursault, and that's for only white. Pouilly-Montrachet, again, only white. Gevrey-Chambertin, only red. Nuits Saint-Georges, only red. Beaune, which are both red and white. And Pommard, red wines only. Especially call me if you're cracking open the Pommard, okay? In the Mâconnais, we have mainly white wines from Chardonnay, but you do have red. If it's a Macon AOC, it's white only. And if it's Pouilly-Fuissé, it's white only. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Pouilly-Fuissé, not to be confused with Pouilly-Fumé. Oh my gosh. So my dyslexic brain definitely has an issue with this one. And if you're a little bit like me, try to think of that good old mnemonic device to help you remember that, because they do love to ask that question. And even though it's multiple choice, if both Pouilly-Fumé and Pouilly-Fuissé are options, it can get a bit tricky for you. That was your overview. And next week, we're going to dig a little deeper. The next 3 episodes are all going to be in the level 3 level info. And we're going to talk a bit about the history of Burgundy and about Chablis. Okay? All right. See you on Thursday.